Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This morning, we are still in Luke 21. Talking about the end of time, the end of Jerusalem, bringing it all together. And it's a good time to talk a little bit about God. I don't know about you, but I have never done much wondering about God. I would read, and that's about what I would do. I wouldn't. But here lately, I've been thinking a lot about God. Different churches look at God a little bit differently. Does anybody know any Mormons?
Mm-hmm.
What is their concept of God?
Well, we were just talking with somebody about that yesterday. I don't get it. It doesn't connect for me. Sort of let's see, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know.
Well, I always got the idea. I've worked with a lot of Mormons over the years, and a lot of very interesting people. But the concept I got that they have of God, the one that is that it's a very personal relationship. And almost in some respects human, and some respects, and in fact they put God forth as kind of like a human being, that he just happens to be bigger than us and have more than us, but he's and we're going to have planets and all kinds of things but he takes care of us, and we are going to, for example, I've often heard that the good Mormons will end up with planets and that they will populate on their own. That's one of the reasons they believe in multiple wives. You would need a bunch of wives. And but I'm not sure, a lot of their beliefs are kind of floating in and out too. So you're never quite sure what's an official belief and what's not an official belief, and what is one day may not be the next.
Well, and that's the funny thing when you say that, because my impression was that people are almost like God.
Yes.
But when you're saying God is almost human, but I've also heard that people are almost like
God. Yeah, that would be saying the same thing in a different aspect. Then you're right. It's exactly what they like to believe. Now, on the other hand, what do we think of God? We think of God, at least I have always thought of human beings are all imperfect. All of us, because the Bible says that. All have sinned. That pretty much clears that up right there. All have sinned. And there is none righteous, no, not
one.
Okay, but when it says no, not one, who's it talking about?
People.
Is it?
God's creation.
Is it? Would that include God?
No, he didn't create himself.
How do you know?
He just was. I love that with the kids when they say, "Who created God?" Nobody.
Yeah.
And then you get that one.
There's a lot we don't really know. But we do know certain things we do know. And this right here presents God, Jesus, when he was upon this earth, had to go through what?
Temptation. Temptation.
Temptation galore. Do you think he ever missed it at all while he was on the earth? When he was in the temple with its cellars, did he miss it at all? When he got angry, was that... I don't know. But he knew what it was like here, and he warns. And one of the things we're going to find it, well, in fact, let's read a little bit here. We're going to start with verse 8. And he said, "Take heed that you do not be deceived." The very first thing he warns them about is what? That they're not going to be deceived. Why would they? Who would deceive them? Of course, the devil and evil and so forth. And he's very concerned about that they're not going to be deceived. What about? Well, for many will come in my name, saying, "I am he," and the time has drawn near. Therefore, do not go after them. So you can't believe everybody. So who are you going to believe?
Him.
Him, but not everybody that claims to be him. Right?
Right.
When you hear of wars and commotions, do not be terrified, for these things must come to pass first, but the end will not come immediately. Then he said to them, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. But before all these things, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it will turn out for you as an occasion for testimony. Therefore, settle it in your hearts not to meditate beforehand on what you will answer. And I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries will not be able to contradict or resist. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers, relatives and friends, and they will send some of you to your death. And you will be hated for my name's sake, but not a hair of your head will be lost. In your patience, possess your souls. I love that verse. In your patience, possess your souls. Okay, what does it sound like things are going to be like?
Terrible. Terrible.
This helps to clarify one very good thing, that one of the problems that we have is if God is all powerful and if he is all loving, then he should take care of all my needs. Why shouldn't he? And I shouldn't have to suffer. I shouldn't have to eat. Why do Christians get sick? That should be a non-Christian thing. Why are we going to hurt? Why are some of us going to die? In fact, all of us are going to die. Why? We're going to die. We're going to live, but we're going to die for a while. Why do we have to go through that while? Why can't we just go straight on? Some say, well, some people will. The ones that living right at the end, I don't know. Are we living right at the end?
closer than we were yesterday.
That's exactly right. But that, you know, the Christians have been talking about the end since the beginning. We don't know. It's going to be the end sometime. God doesn't have much practice with the end. Because he has lived in eternity. We, however, have not had any practice in eternity because we live in, we know we're coming and we know we're going. Right now, we can kind of assume anything we want, I guess. Assume you're going to live forever. Why not? Better than assuming you're going to die in 20 minutes. But he's warning these people and his disciples about what is going to happen. And he's trying to tell Christians how to live on the earth. How to get by with things. How to know how to handle things. Which the things we handle all the time. We handle getting sick. We handle dying. We handle being persecuted, losing what we got. We handle all of a sudden having things just turn upside down on us. Hurricanes coming through and whacking us, and tornadoes and fires and wars and storms of every kind, and just on and on and on and on and on. He's trying to tell us here how to handle these things. What does he say?
Stand firm. Stand firm.
Yeah. And does he say that they will lay hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up? That's very interesting. Delivering you up to who? Synagogues, Jewish people. They were Jewish people themselves, and they would be delivered up. Does that still go? Has that been suspended or whatever? Here we are, they're some of our best friends right now, and we're supporting them and so forth, and not saying that's wrong. But at the same time, they're saying, Jesus is saying, you're going to be delivered up to these people, into their synagogues and into their prisons. And you will be brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it will turn out for you as an what?
A witness. Our NIV says a witness.
It's a witness, a testimony. In other words, your testimony, the thing that you're going to say, yay, look at me, this is what I am, is going to be the fact that these people are going to be wanting to kill you. And you're going to smile and say, okay. And he said, don't worry about any of that stuff. And in fact, in one point here, he says, not one hair. What do you think he's talking about there? Not one hair of your head will be lost.
I think he means that we're going to be made whole in the resurrection.
Yeah. That everything that God talks about through Jesus in this case, but everything that is said is meant for the long haul. And the short haul is not considered very much. He does not say, for example, in here, only own 2 television sets or something like that. He doesn't say that kind of stuff. He didn't take that stuff into consideration. You think you're better off if you were born with a television set or not? I mean, there's been centuries and centuries and centuries of people didn't have any of this stuff.
But it'd be interesting what each generation asks, what they would have been better off without.
And you know, the interesting thing is, the one thing most of us would say, we just need stuff. Different stuff, but it's stuff. And he's warning here that you're going to lose your stuff. So that's not that doesn't go with us. There's no trailers allowed in heaven. You can't hook up the stuff and haul it up. Why?
You don't need it.
Why?
Plus, can you imagine how junky it looks, probably, compared to heaven?
Oh.
You know? I mean, it's just kind of a funny thing of what we value.
Yeah.
Probably looks really, really, really junky.
I'm sure. Because, and the problem, you know why it's so junky?
Oh, it just doesn't compare to the riches of heaven.
Yeah, it doesn't compare. The riches, the things that we think are important here really aren't important. They're convenient.
Yes.
That's all they are. They're convenient.
I like indoor plumbing. Yes.
Well, I'm sure somebody living in the first century or in the last century, actually 2 centuries ago anyway, they would look at this stuff and some would say, sure, you look what you got and look what we had to do. We had to run out in the woods in the wintertime, spiders in the summertime, and wasps all the time, and all the stuff that but that doesn't seem to be very important to God. Probably because it's not forever. That's not a forever item. You don't have to take your toilet with you when you go to heaven. Not necessary. Heaven's going to be completely different. That's the only thing we can imagine, is it's going to be completely different. But we can't imagine what completely different is like. But one thing that we do know and we do struggle with is, what about this suffering? What about this pain? What about this trouble? And for example, one thing that's always set Christians aside from others is that we care about people. And so we reach out to help people, even if it puts us in danger. That's one of the characteristics of a Christian, is that we will go in and help people that are dying, even though that puts us at risk. It's a very interesting thing to me. Very interesting. We're learning something all the time. Now, what we're learning is that we don't have to worry. We don't have to fret. We don't have to be concerned that things are not suitable to our little heads. You don't have to please your head. You don't have to say, okay, this is for you. I got this for me, and God's going to take care of me. He is going to take care of us, but He is not going to take care of us like we want and like our bodies want to be taken care of. He's not. He's going to take care of us the way we should be taken care of. And he's saying, just don't worry about it. You just go on. Things will be fine. And as you go, he says you don't know when this is all going to be, but it will be. That's the first thing that he makes known in here. This will happen. You don't know when, and it's not going to be when, and it's not going to be when people tell you it's going to be. It's going to be. You are not to worry about it. You are to accept the fact that everything is under control. Isn't that great? That's great. We don't have to be. So all of a sudden life becomes an adventure, not a travesty, but an adventure. And whether we know, you ever wonder why those people climb up on these mountains and do some of this other crazy stuff they do? It's because they see life as an adventure. Well, we should see it as an adventure too, a little bit different way, but we should see it as an adventure, knowing that God is in control of it, and knowing that it is going to be, when things come up before us, we're not to slide away from any of them. We don't need to run away and hide, because God says, I'm with you every step of the way. If God gives us a job, it's good. It's an adventure, because it's taking us doing things almost inevitably that you've never done before. It's putting you in situations that you've never thought about being in before, and it has seen you success with God as you have never seen before. It's a wonderful thing. That's why these lessons are some of the best lessons that we get. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. And in your patience, possess your souls. In other words, don't get all nervous and upset about what's going to happen. See it as a God, through your patience. When you have patience, what are you doing?
Trusting. Trusting.
Trusting. Who are you trusting? Trusting God, right? And if you trust God, everything is going to be all right. It's according to God. So you can trust Him. You don't have to worry about Him. You can trust Him. And you can follow Him. Now, in verse 20, he goes a little bit further. And this is this passage, and all these passages are a little bit hard to understand, because they are mixed together with all kinds of stuff. Jesus is here talking about the physical Jerusalem. And so therefore he's talking about what's going to happen in 70 AD and in 130 AD. He's talking about what's going to happen at those two times. Is he talking about what's going to happen in 2018?
We don't know.
Yeah, yes, but in a different way. We don't know how that, and we don't know if it's 2018 or 2019 or whatever. We do know he's talking about everything at once. God, you got to understand, His normal thing is not time. What is time? You know what time is? Time is distance. That's all it is. We look up and we see the sun. It's a way of measuring time to say, well, the sun here, light will go from the sun. Light is not immediate. You understand that? Light travels. It just travels very fast, so fast that we don't see it. It just looks like all this is here, but all this light is traveling all over very fast, 186,000 miles a second. Every second, light will go 186,000 miles. That's pretty fast. And so that you can see it takes us 1 year to go around the sun one time. Everything is, so time is mixed up with all kinds of things, distances and travel and all kinds of things that are happening, and I'm going to be forgetting where I'm at here in a second, so I can't carry a string very far these days without losing track of where it is. Anybody else like that? So time is but we live in a world of time. We measure everything by time, yesterday and today and tomorrow. But all of that really means nothing to God. To God, everything is. And there's no time involved in it because it's all immediate. Everything is now all the time. That's all there is. Just now. There's now. And we live now in a imperfect time, moving time. We will move later on to this other, and we'll have to get used to that somehow. And God, I sure has to get used to this sometime too. But He's saying to us, don't ever worry. You don't need to worry, because everything is all right all the time for you, and you are taken care of. And that's a wonderful thing. Father, we thank you for the fact that you do take care of us. Forgive us, Father, when we get a little bit weak, when we begin to fret over things. Help us to understand that there is no need for any fretting, that you are with us all the time, and you will watch over us all the time, and we will be with you all the time. We thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.